Good afternoon, partners. This is Sherman Crancer, Senior Partner Channel Development Manager for the Western United States. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on the panel. You know, we focus here on sales ideas and strategies that are going to really help you supercharge your business. And once again, thank you so much. So our show today is really going to be an Azure focus. We've got an incredible panel that is going to share some great insights on what they do and how they can help partners, helping partners understand how to sell, the particular products, packaging Azure and whatnot. Let's go into the agenda right now. So to start it out, we'll go into our introductions, then we'll have a little bit of thought leadership. We're going to tell a cool story today. Then Azure implementation is our first act. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Number two is we're going to talk about packaging strategies. Number three, sales ideas, call to action, and summary. But what's most important about this particular call is a lot of the partners on the call are wondering, how do I implement Azure? How do I sell Azure? How Azure? Question mark, how? I don't know. Partners are excited about Azure and the possibilities. We see technology moving so fast, and we're very lucky to have this panel on this show. All right, let's move into some quick introductions. My name is Sherman Crancer. As you know, you can always send me an email. If you have any problems or questions about this, please send me an email. Also, we are having an open and live Q&A section today. We also are giving away two $500 gifts today to two lucky attendees. So make sure you're on the Q&A panel submitting questions quickly and often so I know who's here. All right, so first, Dimitris Pozantidis, our Senior PCDM, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do for Microsoft?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dimitris Pozantidis, and I'm the Partner Channel Development Manager for Northern California within our Microsoft SMB business.
Great. Justin?
I'm Justin Crotty. I'm Senior VP and GM of our channel business at NetEnrich.
And Rocco?
Hey, everybody. Rocco Sabo, Vice President of Marketing at BitTitan.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. All right. So quick updates real quick. We want to make sure that you remember to register for the Partner Insider Call, and that's every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If we've posted these slides on the PLG board, so go to aka.ms/PLG, and you'll get these slides. Next, sign up to be a Microsoft Community Connections partner. If you haven't yet, please go through that and take care of that. And take the Project Lead Gen course. The reason for that is so that you can help supercharge your business through vertical marketing. All right, so enough with the thought leadership. Let's get into NetEnrich and Justin Crotty from them. Justin, can you kind of give us a quick, brief overview of NetEnrich and what the value proposition per se is?
Absolutely, Sherman, and thank you. NetEnrich has been a partner for channel partners for going on about 12 years. And NetEnrich, at its core, is an infrastructure management and IT operations provider. And our value proposition in the channel is and has always been, we bring a lot of capabilities around infrastructure management, IT operations management, the ability to deliver high quality, high SLA infrastructure management solutions through partners to end clients. Really, we power the managed services of partners large and small across the channel. That's at the core of who we are.
Great. Well, let's go into your slides here real quick. I think we have, I think the first one we'll pull up right now is talking about the channel embedded.
Yeah, so our solutions are packaged and optimized for channel partners. That's our business.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we're talking about complex IT operations services around a number of capabilities, but specifically the Microsoft capabilities that are delivered through partners to their clients and allow the partners to stack and wrap value around the core capabilities that we provide. So they're channel enabled, they're scalable, it brings enterprise class technology, enterprise class capability into partners' hands to deliver to a client where that partner is in control of the end client, is in control of the engagement, and is wrapping value, partner value, around those core capabilities and delivering those services to their clients.
Awesome. And then I think moving on to the next slide that you had in there.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, NetEnrich has been in the channel, about 12 years, and we've been, partners with distribution and with Microsoft and with channel partners for a long time. We service, over about 180, 200 channel partners, and these are partners everywhere from SMB, Microsoft partners or SMB technology partners, all the way up to very large multi-region or national system integrators. Through those partners, we service thousands and thousands of end clients, again, of all sizes, SMB, all the way up to, the very large enterprise. And what we do is we enable our partners to build in complex IT services, complex IT operations services, complex infrastructure management services, and deliver those services to their clients at a very high capability. So we leverage the partner's intellectual property and intellectual capital. We leverage the partner's differentiation and value propositions, and we enable those partners to deliver very complex IT services that are very difficult to build, very cost prohibitive to build, potentially in-house, and it's a co-source model. So we deliver value to the end client through the partner brand, white labeled by the partner, across a wide spectrum of technologies.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that, because I really think that helps frame, what NetEnrich does for partners and really the background and experience. So moving forward, why don't we get into, our next panelist and their organization. And, Rocco, could you help us understand what BitTitan does and MS Complete?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of you may actually know BitTitan. We've been working with Microsoft partners for 10 plus years. We're really just, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary about a month ago, and fortunate to have 11,000 Microsoft partners that we work with right now. And a lot of you may know us for our Migration Wiz workload migration platform. We've helped Microsoft partners migrate over 5 million users into Office 365 across about 100,000 different organizations worldwide. So we love working with Microsoft partners, and we've been helping Microsoft partners build out their Office 365 revenue for a decade. Now, if we pull up the first slide, we're really excited to announce a new product that we launched last week on Tuesday, April 4th. And it's actually quite a departure for BitTitan. It's quite a bit bigger and different than Migration Wiz or other tools that we offered in the past, like Health Check for Azure. And so if you are really familiar with BitTitan, kind of clear your mind for a minute and let me tell you about a brand new platform for Microsoft partners to help grow Azure revenue, Office 365 revenue, and become a very successful CSP. It's called MSP Complete. So we provide value to Microsoft partners in 3 areas. First of all, we help you grow revenue, specifically recurring revenue managed services. And we do that by providing you with runbooks, turnkey runbooks that enable you to sell and successfully deliver lots of cloud managed services around Office 365 and Azure that you may not be familiar with today, that you may not have the capability to deliver. And so in order to allow you to launch new services more quickly and make additional recurring revenue, we give you the thousands of granular little steps required to transition from just maybe being an Exchange Online partner into something like Cloud PBX with Skype for Business. Or more importantly for today, if you're trying to figure out how to create new services around Azure and what the right Azure use cases are, we have over 20 runbooks for Azure that allow you to migrate VMs, provide managed backup and other management for Azure use cases. And so that's revenue. You may have some of your own business processes that you are already successfully delivering to customers. The MSP Complete platform will allow you to build out your own custom runbooks and take that knowledge, which is in the heads of your employees or maybe in Word documents, and protect that and scale it in the MSP Complete platform. And then finally, we want to take all those business processes, the ones that you may get from us, those turnkey runbooks, or your own, and we want to make you more operationally efficient and therefore more profitable by making sure the right person in your organization always delivers the right task. and by introducing automation into those runbooks that you may not have today. This is what a runbook looks like, and this is an example of a VM migration to Azure runbook. Notice that we break out every single task required to migrate a VM into Azure. We break it out on that menu on the left-hand side. And you can assign each one of those individual tasks to the person in your organization with the exact right skill set and the exact right experience and training level, so that you can specialize who does what, which not only sets up your delivery team for success, but is going to make you more profitable by ensuring that you never have an expensive resource performing an inexpensive task. And now we provide a workflow solution so that as each task is completed by the person in your organization right to do it, the next person is notified and they can pick up the next task. And look at that information in the middle. We make it really easy to start selling Azure services that you're not familiar with, because we give you such detailed prescriptive guidance that it's really difficult for your engineers to make a mistake. And then we integrate automation, both legacy automation that BitTitan has in our products like Migration Wiz and Health Check for Azure, but also your own automation through PowerShell, and we integrate it right into the runbook.
Rocco, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. That's a great explanation. You can hold on to that. So, let's get into, our opinions, right? These are the things that are going to come up. We have some questions from the group already, which is really awesome. But I think before we get into some of these are the sales-related questions. But I will say that the reason why we have both companies on here is because they serve two different types of partners. And it's great to have these two resources where you can say, hey, maybe I'm going to call one, I'm going to call the other. Maybe I want to do it all by myself, or maybe I need some help, in having somebody else do it. But the most important part is we want to help you get started right away, get going, right? And these are the two best resources that we have out there. And I would say that's probably, in my opinion, absolutely the best. I love what they both do. All right, so the opinion here is, a lot of partners are telling me, they're like, Sherman, this is ridiculous. This is just too complex. I can't figure this out. The pricing, it's so hard. I'm trying to nail it exactly, perfectly. And then next thing you know it, I marked something wrong, and now I'm actually losing money on this Azure proposal. So I'm going to throw it out to the partners. Demetrius, you meet with a lot of partners. You're a partner channel development manager. What are your thoughts on this opinion?
Yeah, I would say that it is a valid opinion. I think that pricing for Azure can be very difficult if you don't know how to price it. So typically what we're finding is that our partners, as they get engaged with their first Azure opportunity, they're really confused, right? Because you go on that Azure calculator and it's very daunting. There's a lot of different options you can pick. And we've even heard of cases where a partner has created an environment for one of their customers. They try to replicate that for another customer, and the pricing's not the same. And it's probably because one of those detailed options might have changed, and they didn't click all the different checkboxes that they had in the previous version. But yes, I think it's a valid claim that Azure pricing is complex. But I think that once partners go through it, their first couple times, they're getting it. And I think leveraging the tools that both of you offer in kind of assessing what that environment looks like and how to move it into Azure, that's been a huge benefit for those partners who've already started.
Yeah, so there's actually quite a bit of automation out there that can help with partners understanding Azure pricing. Microsoft has a great tool called MAP that actually helps partners get ready for Azure customer projects. BitTitan actually makes a tool called Health Check for Azure, and it is designed to solve the exact problem you were talking about. So instead of having to search through and find the right SKU, figure out what's needed, and kind of go through that massive amount of different options that are available in Azure, Health Check for Azure looks at your customer's environment, identifies what they have, and then suggests Azure SKUs that match up perfectly. So it kind of takes the need to go through all of the different options off the table and kind of automates that for the partner to make it easier to figure out that pricing issue.
I agree, and I think Microsoft brings a ton of resource to the table as well. So if you haven't connected with your PCDM, if you haven't connected with your Microsoft team, make sure you're reaching out to them and understand the tools and support necessary. BitTitan, NetEnrich, we can all help you in assessing environments and then mapping out a blueprint to migrate those environments, and then the ultimate, how to price it and how to ultimately present a value proposition and a solution to your customer that you feel confident in and you're able to make good margins on.
Well, just hold on. Let's back up for just a second here. Demetrius, you're talking about, it is complex. Okay, but my thought was, let's keep it simple by not making it complex and putting it into a package that you already know your margin is going to be 45 or 50%. And even if you did mark one thing wrong and your price went up, it doesn't matter. You can still make a good margin. So how does that factor into what you're saying about the pricing? I mean, are you suggesting that we should price everything specifically, or should we do packages?
No, absolutely not. So exactly to your point, Sherman, I think that's where partners are getting stuck, right? Their biggest worry is the variable cost, right? Little things like bandwidth, egress charges, things like that, the unknown. And so they feel uncomfortable going to their customers and saying, hey, I don't know exactly what you're going to pay for on a monthly basis. This is more like a utility, but you're going to get billed in arrears for what you consume. And so that skepticism or that unknown of what those variable costs are going to be are scary for partners. And I totally understand that as a valid concern. I think where we see partners finding success is, right to your point, Sherman, of building in bundles and packaging it all together. So
what's an example of that? Because like some partners are listening to this and saying that's easier said than done.
Right. So essentially coming up with a flat fee for, let's say, customers that fit within a certain, we'll call it a box, right? So if they're underneath a certain level of compute, a certain level of storage, we're going to charge them all this price per month. And so that way, if they do have peaks and valleys, they're still able to make roughly the same margins, right? They can protect themselves and pad that into their margin. And then if that customer is to exceed a certain level of compute or storage or whatever the tier is, then they move into the next level, right? So I think that's how the partners who have been successful with Azure are protecting themselves. Is we have partners asking us all the time, like, why doesn't Microsoft just make it easy and build, these different buckets or tiers that SMB customers can go into? And we're actually providing the platform for our partners to go and do that.
Well, so Demetrius, what you're saying too is not only going to solve the pricing problem, but it sounds like what you're describing is actually going beyond being an Azure reseller and actually being a managed service provider with Azure powering the solution behind the scenes, right? So that's maybe an even more important benefit than solving the pricing problem.
Right, exactly. The customer has to use that partner because the partner is the one who built the packaging. They're the ones who developed that IP. And so it's a very sticky relationship with that customer.
You mean to tell me that the more things change, the more they stay the same? That's always been the value proposition of partners in the channel. You're going to take your IP and your capabilities, you're going to wrap that around these types of solutions, and you're going to deliver it to your client in an easy to consume way. Nothing's changed. It's been that way in the channel for as long as the channel's been in existence.
Yeah, I think the part that gets a little bit difficult is it's not a product anymore, right? So where Office 365, it's very easy to leverage the benefits of the Office suite or Exchange Online and talk about that change. This isn't a product, right? You're not selling Azure, you're selling a platform. You're selling their infrastructure in the cloud. And so
partners are selling their own value.
Exactly.
And they're using Azure to deliver that value.
Right, absolutely.
Bingo, absolute bingo. I think that's the best point, right? They're selling the value. They're not selling the product. So stop selling the product, which is, it's selling, like the package that Demetrius, you're just talking about. It's not just even those tiers, because you can add in your MSP services. You can add in your security scans. You can add in your, managed infrastructure. You can, put it all together in a package, and that would insulate your margins. Plus, keep you out of this whole price war thing, right? Where somebody's saying, oh, well, I'll give that to you for X and Y and whatnot. I mean, that's where a lot of partners are getting killed selling just Office 365 by itself. And they're like, I don't know, why can't I make more margins? All right. Hey, so we got some good questions here. First of all, this one's to Justin. For NetEnrich, how do they manage infrastructure by remote support or on-site support, and do they cover all U.S. states?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I'll answer it two ways. As it relates to Microsoft and Microsoft Azure and the solutions there, we have full assessment, full migration, full blueprint to migration services, and then ongoing management services, so partners can monetize the ability to manage those resulting Azure workloads. And the answer is it's co-sourced. It's remote service delivery from NetEnrich in combination with partners' technical engineering solutioning capability to your clients. And that covers all of North America, absolutely.
Great, well, thanks. And then there's another question that came up. This is really good. This is for both of you guys. So, how does BitTitan, we'll start with BitTitan and NetEnrich, maintain its relevance when everyone is trying to push cloud services to MSPs? Why would I purchase Azure through you instead of through my partnership with a distributor, for example? I couldn't name who you put in there. How are your engineers more knowledgeable versus the other guy?
So I'll start if that's okay. We don't want you to buy Azure through us at all. So all we're doing with the new MSP Complete platform is giving you the knowledge you need, the prescriptive guidance to actually successfully deliver those use cases that you think are really desirable to your customer that the Azure platform allows you to sell. So we're not getting involved in the transaction. And in fact, globally, BitTitan MSP Complete is available through your distributor. So we want to encourage you to continue that relationship, buying Azure through CSP directly from Microsoft if that's right for you, or going through your distributor. We just want to help make you more successful to show you how to deliver that service that can create that recurring revenue for you.
Yeah, answer is very similar from NetEnrich. We don't resell Azure or Microsoft products and services. You buy those through your distributor. You buy those through where you typically procure those types of solutions. We simply enable, along with BitTitan, we simply enable various stages of assessment, migration, and implementation, and help you find ways to communicate value and ultimately deliver those offerings to your clients in a high quality fashion.
Yeah, so I think one perfect example of that, right, as you mentioned earlier, is analyzing the environment and finding out exactly what they need to price out within Azure. I think at the initial stages when partners were first starting to transact Azure, they would take whatever the customer had on-prem, move it in the cloud, and they're like, whoa, we're paying way too, this is gonna be way too much. And they weren't doing just simple steps like right-sizing those VMs, right? Or maybe they were going with a higher bundle of servers than they actually needed. And so it's that kind of prescriptive guidance that I think both of these vendors provide that is really just making it a lot easier to transition to Azure, not competing with purchasing Azure from your distributor.
Cool. So here's another great question actually from Dennis. I think it's Dennis Wilson. We love Dennis. He's a great MCC partner. MRR requires flat costs. It is very difficult to feel confident that the cost initially can become more and more pricey. I have a very, very strong opinion about this, but I'm going to turn it over. We're going to start with Rocco. What do you think about that?
I think we have a lot of examples where MRR doesn't necessarily require a flat cost. And I think Demetrius talked about how the kind of margins that you have the ability to get on solutions that are powered by Azure, if you're wrapping your own IP and differentiation around that, will actually insulate you from a little bit of the fluctuation. But I would also then encourage you to find use cases that are predictable, or make your pricing based on things that you can predict, even if they're variable. So, backup of virtual machines powered by ASR is absolutely one of the best use cases for partners to make money with Azure right now. And one thing we've seen really smart partners do, the amount of data that's flowing into Azure and then being stored there as part of the backup solution is variable. But there's a beautiful roadmap of backup offerings that the pricing scales as the volume scales, for example. So you can set yourself up for success by mapping your pricing to the way the customer is going to use it, even if there's variability.
Yeah, I agree. And Demetrius said it well a few minutes ago. This idea of consumption-based pricing and ensuring that your solutions are built to accommodate potential increase in consumption and those types of things. And generally, clients will understand as their consumption goes up, their prices may change. And I agree. There's a lot of use cases out there that help protect partners in those consumption-based recurring revenue offerings that you can look to build yours and protect yourself.
I think you just got to make it simple. Once again, let's get it back to the keep it simple, right? Superstar. the KISS method, right? Just put together 3 packages, package A, B, and C, or name it something cool within a vertical, and know that, okay, customers between 0 and 20 will fit in my small business package, right? And then between 20 and 100, let's say, or 50 or whatnot, in your medium and then your large, and make sure your margins are already there. You don't have to try to be exact on everything. You're selling an idea. You're selling a solution to their problems. And we talk about this with vertical markets. If you're in the law vertical, okay, you're solving a solution that they don't get sued for malpractice because they don't lose their they miss the court date with the law toolbox, right? But see, you're finding a solution. And if you can do that, now you're not everything to everyone. And now you are getting yourself out of being just a regional play. You're now a statewide play or a national play. All right, so okay, so we have 2 questions, one for BitTitan and one for NetEnrich. So the first one, should we sign with a distributor first, or can we register directly with NetEnrich and BitTitan now?
Yeah. So whatever. Yeah. I mean, hey, that's a great question. So in other words, how can you buy the product? Thanks for asking that. So yeah. So you absolutely have the ability to sign up for free at BitTitan.com to get started with MSP Complete. There's actually a lot of really cool things you can do for free. And when it comes time to actually pay for something, then we would absolutely encourage you to go through your disti if that's how you like to buy. There's a lot of great things that they do for partners. When it comes to BitTitan, including providing terms and a lot of flexibility and great customer support and great knowledge in the sales organization. But we also know that some partners like to buy direct. So, we accommodate whatever makes the most sense.
Yeah, very, very similar from our perspective. Again, if you're acquiring a lot of those solutions through distribution is a great partner for all of us. And I would encourage you to do the same, but we can accommodate different buying or different transaction requirements from any partner.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So then we have this other. I love all these questions. So keep them coming. These are really great. This is great stuff. Great point on backups. Which solutions do both of you see as being the most reliable and cost-effective for the Azure environment? So, like, what would we put into a package that you think is the best margin? And Demetrius, you've had some experience with this. What do you think would be like a starter to add in?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because we also get a lot of conflicting ideas of what's the difference between backup and what's the difference between DR, right? So absolutely, we have our Azure backup products, a very inexpensive, cost-effective way to manage your backups. It's much more scalable and cost-effective than going the old tape routes, right? We also have Azure Site Recovery. So if your environment were to just go down, you can instantly spin it up within Azure within minutes. And so there's a lot of great products out there. I would encourage you, if you're kind of looking at the differences between backup, disaster recovery, and what Microsoft has available, we have a ton of training available to our partners. So from a technical standpoint, we have free online instructor-led type of trainings. We also have a ton of materials from a sales and marketing perspective as well. So a lot of good content to kind of get you started. And I think towards the end of our call today, we'll be talking about some of the resources that partners can go to leverage.
Demetrius, we recommend something a little bit different, actually. So, and this works especially well with Office 365 partners who are trying to figure out how to break into that infrastructure conversation with their customer that they aren't normally having, or just figure it out for themselves. We actually really think that offering virtual machine migration into Azure as a standalone offering makes a lot of sense, because then you're just responding to that demand that's already out there among your customers to reduce costs by moving workloads and servers into Azure. And then we want you to be right there ready with that backup protection disaster recovery offering. But we actually think it's an easier way to kind of start that conversation and break down the door with that customer if you're not used to offering something like a full end-to-end Azure VM managed service. It's easy to sell and easy to perform, and then you have that ability to sort of land and expand once you're in with something simple.
No, and I totally agree. I mean, I think we see a lot of backup of VMs. Obviously, you can do file and folder, but mostly application workloads, right? Whether they be running on Hyper-V or VMware, and backing up those applications into Azure.
The amazing thing about from a profitability standpoint with ASR is the motion that you need to go through to get the VM ready to be protected by ASR is about one extra step after you've done the migration, right? So all the work you're gonna go through, and by the way, MSP Complete has a run book that shows you exactly how to do this. The motion you're gonna go through to get it migrated, it's a couple more steps, and then you have it under protect, and you can start offering that DR service. So the profitability is really nice when you move from migration into disaster recovery because you've already done the vast majority of the work.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you guys offer the workbooks, because when we launched these solutions, we looked at three basic solutions within SMB, right? So we looked at backup and disaster recovery, identity management, and then that hybrid VM model. And we came up with prescriptive guidance for partners on how to migrate these workloads into Azure. But because of the rate of innovation with Azure, these things change so rapidly. Those workbooks came kind of outdated pretty quickly.
Well, and the other thing we heard is, and you guys did an amazing job of providing this guidance, but some of these playbooks are like 100, 150 pages long.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, if I'm small and I'm just struggling to like keep the lights on, right? I don't have an R&D department. I may have a solution architect, but he's busy just like putting out fires. You know, he or she is putting out fires all day long. We don't have time to read that, let alone put it into action. That's why we came up with this idea to like automate the run book, because you need the information, but we wanted to take some of the complexity out of having to sit down and actually read that, and then turn that documentation, which is amazing, into actual action.
Yep.
You know, Justin, let me ask you a question here. You know, you're working with partners and they're bringing the deal to you after they've sold it, or they sold it with you, Justin, and then you're helping doing the implementation and whatnot. So my question with that, putting that as the basis, right, is how do you assure compliancy regulated clients that their data is safe in the cloud, medical, retail, student data, Department of Defense, et cetera? Could you answer something like that?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the client, right? There are some federal restrictions and things like that against remote service delivery and things like that. But the technologies and the platforms we deploy as we deliver services are, you know, compliant. So ISO, you know, they've got the HIPAA compliance, all of the traditional compliance that you would expect. So depending on the use case, right? I can't answer it 100% in every, you know, across the board, but depending on the use case, generally speaking, number one, the data that we're managing, the data in the end user environment is not generally being moved, is not generally being exported anywhere. It's simply we're remoting into an environment and we're helping the partner and giving the partner the ability to manage that environment. So we're not doing anything with the data. And all of the systems, you know, all of the technologies, all the delivery capabilities are compliant in that respect. But again, you know, I can't answer it blanket across every potential use case or any type of end client partner. Certainly in the federal government, there are specific restrictions that prevent, you know, remote delivery of services and things of that nature. But generally speaking, we can service most of the other types of industries or verticals that you might be participating in.
Great. All right, next slide coming up here. Fact: 56% prefer a single source for their IT, and many want a mix of applications and infrastructure. I'm going to throw this back over and say, do you agree with that fact, or do you vehemently disagree?
Let me take that. I'm not 100% certain what, you know, fact 56%. Is that clients? Is that partners? So it's a little inspecific, but my view is we're very opinionated about the channel and about the partner value proposition in the channel. The fact of the matter is the partner's value is what the client is looking for and paying the partner for. So to the extent the partner needs to bring solutions to that client that may encompass a number of sources, a number of capabilities, yeah, I could see where that would bring value. But the bottom line is the partners are the ones that aggregate and determine what solutions and how to deliver. In the case of Azure and Microsoft, there's a lot of technology and a lot of innovative solutions under the hood. So in that respect, the partner can bring a tremendous amount of capability to a particular client. Now, whether that client's buying solutions and technologies from other partners or other sources, the client can or the partner can sort of fight against that by bringing as much to the table as possible and being able to solution that. And this is a great solution for Microsoft to enable partners to do a stellar job in defending those accounts from others. I'm assuming that the question is client-oriented, and partners, are worried about where are my clients getting other pieces of the solution.
Justin, we have a name for this at BitTitan. We call it invisible IT.
Yep.
So we have this rallying cry around being a modern MSP. It's a lot like a modern partner, actually. And one of the most important things that a modern MSP does is make IT invisible for their customer. So I would actually take it a step further and say that, Sherman, I actually don't know if I agree with that statistic, because I actually don't think that customers, especially SMB and mid-market customers, care about any kind of applications or infrastructure. They just care about getting their problems solved, and they care about outcomes, right? They just want things to work. So you got, partners have to get out of the mindset that that they could be a single, technology stack to the table. But even more than that the customer is even going to necessarily care about the technology stack. They want outcomes, and that's all the more reason actually why, a managed service that bundles a lot of different things together and packages in the partner's IP is probably what's going to win and be most successful, because then it's just it's just Demetrius's solutions, right? Right. And that's what the customer gets, and that's what the customer knows, and that's what they care about.
Right. I think that statistic is probably more relevant for the partner, right? Because from a customer standpoint, to your point, they shouldn't know what technologies are running in the background. They shouldn't care, right? They just want the problem to be solved. I think Microsoft brings a very unique value add to our partner ecosystem because we offer the widest breadth of solutions, whether it be productivity, enhancing business processes, being able to manage infrastructure both on-premise and in the cloud. And so from a partner perspective, we're helping make it much easier to manage. It's scalable, and customers can consume these resources on-prem or in the cloud or however they want at any time. So I think that that's where Microsoft can bring a unique capabilities to our partner ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that doesn't this, I mean, this really, the fact thing, right, really kind of talks about the packaging, right? They don't want to know all the 42 things that you're doing. And if you're listing all 42 items that you're doing in your line item and costing them out, oh my gosh, right? I mean, you have a significant chance of the high margin stuff being just written out. So, all right. So, hey, let's get into the next question here. In your opinion, how would a perfect partner ramp up their Azure practice? So let's do a base. The partner has been in business, is not born in the cloud, but it's got a nice sized business going on. It's got a few employees. We'll start even a smaller partner, a few employees. How would you, what advice would you get or give them? Demetrius, why don't we start with you, since you talk to partners and make them great.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I work with a lot of partners, right? And this has been a big challenge. This is a big shift. It's not as easy as, again, going out and selling a product like Office 365. And so really, we've outlined some steps that we feel has been successful for partners. So, and they can be anything as basic as, internally nominating a champion, right? Nominating someone who's going to go out and really focus on Azure, because we have so many. I hear all the time from our partners that our technical folks don't want to learn this stuff, right? They're busy, they're out solving customer problems, and our salespeople don't want to sell it because they're not getting these big pops of like servers and networking and storage. Now they're going to go out and sell some monthly recurring revenue, which may be more profitable in the long run, but the salespeople aren't going to see it right away. And so it's kind of shifting that mentality where you have someone who's going to be dedicated to cloud technologies. I think the biggest differentiator for partners who are interested in Azure or interested in EMS or any of our technologies to the ones that are actually selling is leveraging the IUR rights. I mean, you have to be using it internally to be able to go out and sell it. And so I see this all the time where partners are like, yeah, we just can't figure this out. And I said, well, have you leveraged your IURs? And of course they haven't yet. And so once they start to do that, once they really understand the environment, then they can go out and sell it. And then thirdly, I'd say that they have to go out and not only ramp up their teams technically and from a sales perspective, but they have to start leveraging some of the tools that are available, right? They have to be able to simplify it and dumb it down a little bit so that they're not going out and reading TechNet articles all night trying to figure this stuff out, because if it's too difficult, then they're not going to get involved. And so that's where I think, both of our folks here provide tremendous value with our partners.
Yeah, I would just add to that, it's a good rundown. I would add to that, get started. And in some cases, if it's overwhelming or if it's a little bit challenging, you can come to organizations like BitTitan and NetEnrich, and you can understand, how do I assess an environment? How do I quickly and easily take a client environment, assess that environment, and then in case of NetEnrich, we can build a blueprint for migration of that environment. It gives you a step-by-step recommendation on what is going to move and in what order it should move and how to present that to the client. So in that respect, and you mentioned it a little while ago, I think once you've done a couple of those, once you've gone through it a few times, it'll start to be a little easier for you, and you'll start to understand and be able to predict some of the questions and those types of things from customers. But in general, you need to start having the conversation with customers, right? How are they thinking about their technology needs going forward? What types of solutions are they looking for? What are the things that that their current environments may be constraining them? And start to have that that discussion and start to put some of those assessments in front of those clients, and that will lead to the discussions, which ultimately lead to the solutioning and the success there. So I think having the initial discussions and starting down the path is the most important thing.
Assessment is absolutely the way to start, especially for people who are not sales experts, right? Because if you can show return on investment, you can sell anything to anybody. But I would actually caution partners from being too consultative with their customers too soon. You're not an expert at selling this stuff yet. So if you don't go in to that assessment knowing kind of where you're trying to lead the partner or where you can specifically add value, you're going to get yourself in trouble. What if NetEnrich or BitTitan Health Check for Azure recommends a complex ERP workload is the right thing to go first, and you don't even know how to have a conversation with your customer about their ERP because it's not your core competency? So what we recommend is, before you get to that assessment phase, find something that or 2 or 3, maybe as many as 5 use cases that are powered by Azure that you believe a great deal number of your existing customers will benefit from, and have a little bit of a game plan when you go in, so that you don't get in a situation where you're trying to respond with something slightly different to every single customer, regardless of what's coming out of that assessment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, we just had a partner roundtable up in San Francisco with some of our top partners, and we were kind of picking the brains of one of our top Azure partners in Northern California. And the question came up like, okay, so you see the opportunity with your customers, but how are you getting started? Like, what was that first step? And the way Sherman pointed it out earlier, you just got to do it. I mean, he said, just build some proof of concepts. And to your point, you don't want to go down a path of super complexity. And that's why I think when Microsoft goes to our partners and we say, try these couple workloads, right? Try hybrid VMs or try backup or DR, something that's like a first step into the door. And actually, a lot of our Azure revenue has come from test and dev environments. Why invest in brand new infrastructure when you can just do all your test and dev within Azure?
But that's actually probably like test and dev. That's a conversation that like a lot of the Office 365 partners, they're not. Like, yeah, you can do that better in Azure, but they're not having that conversation with, many of them are not having that type of conversation with their customer. Like, to me, I think like something like Azure Active Directory. If you're an Office 365 partner, like that is a conversation that you already have, because Office 365 had to federate to the on-prem Active Directory in order to even make that happen, to make that sale and then to make that migration. So that's an example of, and by the way, there's some partners listening that do have more of an infrastructure capability. And then test and dev is an amazing use case. But if you've got a ton of Office 365 customers, look at something else that may fit better into the conversation you're already having with them.
Right. So, that kind of, luckily that really segues into our next part, which is really some of the sales aspects of it. So we're going to go into that in just a second, but I got a great question came up here from Michelle McKernan. So we have been, and this is the question. So we have been, or the statement, we have been billing monthly Azure usage charges by marking up the charges we are billed from Microsoft. We have run into issues where the client wants a breakdown of charges. And, stop the question. This is difficult since the MS usage spreadsheet can have pages of line items. Any suggestions? Great question.
Michelle,
yes.
You're a reseller in that scenario, and that's exactly what you don't want to be, right? That's
totally agree.
So the number one suggestion, and we don't pretend that it's not a little easier said than done, but in that scenario, that's great that you're building recurring revenue, but you basically have built recurring reseller revenue. So let's try to find a solution, right, or something that adds in your own differentiation that you can actually sell as a product to your customer, so that there is that conversation about, can I see the line item and how much are you marking up my consumption? That's gone.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, and I know we were instructed to disagree once in a while, but the bottom line is, Michelle, you're absolutely right. You've got to build a solution where partner IP, your value differentiator, and things that you can bring to the table above and beyond the platforms that Microsoft is bringing is going to be critical there. And the MRR is fantastic. You've solved that problem, which is a good one to solve. But now you've got to get away from the pure uplift on every workload or every increment of capability, and get into selling pre-built or pre-packaged solutions that are yours that happen to be powered by Azure or the other technologies that you're building into it.
Justin, right. I completely disagree. We were not instructed to disagree with one another.
Yeah, you're wrong. I don't know why, but you're wrong. All right, so okay, let's get into some of the sales part. Question: what are the three legs of the stool relating to Azure sales? A great leader in our group actually brought this up this morning, and I wanted to say it's basically, Azure can be complex depending on how you want to do it. So you really need to get the three legs involved, and that is the CEO, the sales department, and engineering, or marketing department and engineering. When you get buy-in from those two types of group, or those three groups, then it's much easier to get it going. And that's why we talk about vertical markets and doing different things. So let's get into our first question, and this is sales related. The question is, the value proposition is confusing. What are the value points to keep in mind when pitching this product? And we only got about 9 minutes left here, so folks, we're going to have to go through these. Rocco, what are your thoughts?
Well, first thought is you actually have to find a product to begin with. That's the confusing part for customers about Azure. It is not a product. So find a use case, whether it's VM migration or backup or Azure Active Directory. Figure out what 5 or 10 things you can do to differentiate around that. Come up with a product, right? And then maybe you'll find that it's a lot easier to explain to the customer.
Absolutely. The product is your services and everything that you're bundling in. It's not the actual solutions behind it. Great.
All right. So let's get the next question here. Partners should only pitch their solution based on price. I think we killed that one already. Yeah. We know that we're not going to. No, you're not going to do it. I disagree with that one. Next one is, what is an easy way to start a conversation around Azure? This is a good one. Because you're going to be talking and you want to start conversations that are going to lead not necessarily to Azure, but to your solution. So guys, which ones do you want to take this first?
Well, I mean, I think similar to other leading edge or new capabilities that come to market, the question is, first you have to understand again where you're going to lead the client, and I think that's a great piece of advice, one of the best that's been given on this webinar. You got to understand where you're going to lead them, but secondly, you have to start to plant the seeds around how that client is consuming infrastructure today, whether they've got they've got traditional on-prem infrastructure that's being served out of a data center. You need to start asking them some questions around their existing way of doing it. How are you planning for the next iteration, or what are you doing about DR or backup, or what about your traditional Exchange implementation? How do you want to manage that going forward? So seeding the discussion with a client knowing that you want them to go to, cloud-based solutions and the types of things that you can bring to the table with Microsoft and Azure, I think is the right way to start the conversation.
I just think do some product management work like technology companies do, right? When we've been working on the new version of MSP Complete for 2 years. We interviewed over 1,000 partners. In order to figure out what your game plan is about where you think you can add value, why don't you go interview in a non-sales, non-threatening setting, right? Why don't you just interview all of your customers about their biggest pain points? And then why don't you take the top 3 things that emerge and then build your offerings around that, and then go back to those folks and let them know that you have a solution, right? All great selling starts with solving customer problems.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Sherman, I know you've talked about it in the past, but eliciting that emotional response, like what are those big pain points that customers are facing? Is it they're running legacy servers, and what is it costing to maintain those servers, and what is the performance out of those applications, and the cost to upgrade those servers? Or is it, do you even have a disaster recovery plan? Have you thought about that? Do you know that 40% of SMBs go out of business after a disaster? So are you touching on those emotional points, those emotional pain points that will really
ask in a
customers?
Non-threatening way, because if you're doing that on a sales call, you don't always know that you're getting the truth.
Yeah, I would suggest that, one of the ways that you could bring it up, you could be like, John, we've been doing business for a while, and we've migrated you, over to Office 365. You've seen a lot of benefits from the cloud. We've taken the Exchange server out, right? And we have a higher level of security. Would you mind if I shared with you another avenue to really increase security? Or increase or reduce the cost, of total infrastructure. We have a package here now that now addresses some of these other concerns. So that's a good way to kind of start it, right? Because you're just, hey, we've done X, Y, and Z. Let's talk about this, or you can frame it, or use the so. Remember, I talked about using so. So, you would agree that security is important for you. Can you help me understand, like, what is your disaster recovery plan? What happens if this thing, God forbid, the company goes, something catches on fire or something, right? So that's the other idea. So what would you say is an opening question? Can you guys just think of maybe one opening question? I kind of threw a couple out there, but I'd give it to the panel if you want to chime in.
What's the most exciting thing you'd like to see that you could do in your business 2 years from now that you're not doing today?
Great question.
I think it's always real helpful when we engage with partners. So I'll give you kind of we typically engage with partners, and one of the questions we want to understand from partners is what are the constraints that your current infrastructure, your current environment, maybe putting on your business. Are there specific things that you feel you're constrained in terms of what you want to go do or what you want to execute as a business, and address those constraints, potentially in a way that Azure might be able to solve.
Awesome. All right, so let's move forward. We got to get to the call to action. We only got a few more minutes left, but we're going to go over maybe 1 or 2 minutes. We want to make sure that we give proper time to kind of follow up. Also, if you have not put your full name into the Q&A section, I can't call on you to win the raffle. So we're going to pick a number. So please, let's put in your first and last name in the Q&A section. Thank you very much. All right, call to action. We want to make sure that you go to PLG and register as a Microsoft partner. Resources for today's call will be listed at aka.ms/PLG, our board. And then check out next week. We have a Skype for Business, which is unbelievable. We have put in here just real quickly some resources for you to download later if you want to find out. We're not covering this today. Our summary is always about practice, practice, practice makes the key to success. Okay, now, because I know we had 2 minutes, I had to run through like 18 slides, and I did it, right? You guys are, okay, thanks. All right, so let's get back real quick. If you want to contact the folks here, you have the contact information. Actually, Rocco's email is rsaboth@bittitan.com. It's listed on the first Microsoft contact information. I want to give it across here, just have everybody, once again, just say what you do and how you help partners, and then you do have a call to action slide that you want to get through.
So I'll go. I'm Justin Crotty. I'm with NetEnrich, and NetEnrich enables partners to deliver complex infrastructure and IT operations solutions to their clients in a recurring revenue fashion. The call to action we'd like to put out there is we're providing to one lucky partner today a free assessment. So if you're interested in jumping in and you want to know the first step, it's a 5-server assessment with a backup migration as well. If you want to move forward with that, it's worth about $550 to the partner. So one lucky winner will get that. You call us up, we'll put you in touch with our solutions folks, and we'll kick off the assessment for you.
All right, we'll be raffling that off today. Let me go ahead and pull up
That's cool.
Rocco's slide. Rocco?
Yeah, if you'd pull up my slide. So we also think that assessment is a great way to get started. We want to encourage you to check out Health Check for Azure. You can actually get it for free through Microsoft through the Azure Everywhere program. And you can learn everything about Health Check for Azure and the Azure Everywhere program at that landing page you see there. One other really cool thing that's there is you may be wondering, like, how do I get my customers to even have interest in doing an assessment? You need marketing for that, and we provide a 90-day through marketing campaign that's completely free to all Microsoft partners for how to get them excited about having that conversation with you around Azure and doing that assessment. You can get that free at that landing page as well. And you can get started with MSP Complete for free. In fact, you can check out those 20 Azure runbooks that I talked about completely free to figure out what might be a good fit for your business. And for everyone buying Health Check for Azure, you can use those 20 Azure runbooks completely free for an entire year. So buy Health Check for Azure, get those 20 Azure runbooks, including VM migration and VM backup powered by ASR. Get those completely free. So I would encourage you to go check that out.
All right. Thank you so much. Demetrius, thank you so much for coming. Really do appreciate it. Let's get right into the raffle here. We are going to start off with Rocco's raffle. Can you pick a number between 1 and 200?
Right now?
Right now, pick a number.
Sherman, that's a lot of pressure.
That is.
Okay. 194.
All right, 1 second. That is.
No, I changed my mind. Just kidding. 194.
Okay, that still is Gwen Bonaparte. Congratulations. You won that. And then, Justin, can you pick a number between 1 and 200?
7.
Great number.
7.
Keep it short and simple.
Aloki, give me a call. Okay, so this is what you do. Send the contact here an email. The actual gifts are going to be sent from our partners directly. It's not from Microsoft. So we want to say thank you, everyone, for joining the show today. We are so thrilled to be here, so thrilled to just be able to provide this to you. Please join next week. We're going to be talking about Skype. And have some incredible contacts that are coming in, and panelists that are going to be here that are going to be unbelievable. Make sure you get there. Always go to our PLG board. We're excited. Tell your friends, tell your partners. Let's build this, attendance to 500 if we can. So, hey, look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.